The Buffalo Bills just got a key piece back. Frankly, Bills Mafia, we hit the jackpot. Khalil Shakir is looking like he's going to be back. Khalil Shakir, according to Sean McDermott, is in a good spot to play Sunday against the Buccaneers in Week 11. Shakir, again, was limited because of the injury he sustained in the Dolphins game with the rib injury, but also we even just saw how he was in practice today. Again, Khalil Shakir no longer wearing the non-contact jersey, those red jerseys that we often see. But again, Sean McDermott's comments earlier today and even earlier this week indicated that he is on a trajectory that he's going to be playing, which this is the jackpot because he is the slot merchant. Guys, we know that. If you don't know this already, I'm a dad. Puns are great. Don't hate me for that one, but frankly, it was a good one. You got to give me that one. But a couple other injury news here, updates before we get into the meat of today's video, which ultimately is going to be a little bit of a reflection. I want to give you 5 facts today about the injuries in Buffalo in the last couple of years. And frankly, I'm pulling together some raw data. I'm kind of putting a hypothesis together on why the Buffalo Bills are so injured. And some people say it's a curse. Some people say, it's the injury bug. Some people say it's just the older vets. There's some analytics behind this, and I'm going to break that down today and kind of open the conversation. Frankly, I need your help in it because the videos for that or the content for that is not fully compiled, and I want to expand my reach, and I need your help in the comments in a little bit today. But Dalton Kincaid here is listed as out, fully guaranteed. He's not going to be playing this Sunday against the Buccaneers, but not only he is going to be out, but Phidarian Mathis is also going to be out. What a sad story for Phidarian, right? Gets on the practice squad, gets elevated to the active roster, and shortly after that, I think he played against the Chiefs, I think he played against the Dolphins, gets hurt in the Dolphins, and now he's out. We'll see what happens with him, but it's not looking good. But also, Sal tweeted this earlier. I think this is, again helpful, that TJ Sanders officially is questionable for Sunday's game. I heard a press conference, or I heard TJ Sanders talking today about this. He is so ready to get back. He has not had any major injuries or any major surgeries in his entire career as a football player. This was really his first one, and within that, he is designated to return. He has to be activated by 4 p.m. on Saturday in order that he might play on Sunday against the Buccaneers. But looking at this injury report, again, this is really what got me thinking. I know so many of you guys, just with all the injuries that we had from the offseason to Dwayne Carter and Hairston and Ed Oliver and just all the things, even with Cole Bishop's issues this summer, like there's so many things going on with the injuries. But the Friday report and really the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday report, and even the injuries that we've had, like to Teron Johnson or Ed Oliver in practice, were really just dumbfounding for me as a fan. I'm looking at this, and there's 14 names right here on this Friday injury report. Praise the Lord that there is 1, 2, 3, 4, and the rest of those 6 more names right there. 10 people that are fully planning on playing, that have full practice, right? Of course, 2 of them are out. Cam Lewis and Teron Johnson are questionable. Of course, our 2 nickel corners. We'll see what happens there. But again, the game, the game status for Shaq Thompson is questionable as well. But within all of this, it started to get me think maybe a little bit deeper. And I started to look and pull some raw data, and I found a new analytic called Adjusted Games Lost. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that stat before, or that analytic, but it got me thinking about it got me looking for a bunch of raw data. And today, I don't want to break them down in specificity, but I have a couple facts that I want to give to you, and I kind of want your feedback on them, because it's easy as a fan to just sit here to be like, the Bills are injured just because of XYZ, or the Bills are hurt because of this reason, or the Bills are hurt because of that reason. There's a multitude of realities, whether it be the turf we play on, whether it be the strength and conditioning coach, whether it be, just bad luck, whether it be that we have older vets, or whether it be the scheme that we run and how physical we demand our players to be. There's a lot of reasons, even roster construction, age of players, again, really matters. And so a couple facts here, check these out. The fact number 1 is that soft tissue injuries for the Buffalo Bills tripled after the strength and conditioning coach changed, which we know. If we oops, there's an ad right here. Last year in February 15th, Eric Ciano was parted. Oops, not very clear on your guys' screen. The Bills have, again, relieved the strength and conditioning coach. We got a new guy in. Again, when we look at some of this, like we parted way with them. And in the implications of that are a new systems coming in, which frankly this offseason looked pretty good, but it didn't result to maybe the fruit or the consistency or the health that we desired it to have. I'll go back to the injury report here, but the first idea again is that we've tripled soft tissue injuries in the last year. So hamstring injuries in camp jumped from 3.4 per year to 9 this year, 9 of them. These are just facts. This is information we're pulling. And then calf injuries jumped from 1.7 per year to 7 this year. Again, that spike immediately after firing Eric, and then switching to maybe a new explosive velocity-based strength program, and is already showing that it's potentially reducing injuries, but in year one, it's not working out well for us too much. Fact number 2 is the Bills already are at 95 games missed through 9 weeks. Now, this is an interesting idea that I just frequently came to understand. It's this idea of adjusted games lost. Now, we have 22 players that start on offense and 11 on offense and 11 on defense. Now, of those 11 players, the question is how many total games do those key starting contributing assets miss in any given year? Well, up to this point, the Bills are already at 95 approximately games lost with starters out of a total of about 384, I believe it is, the total potential amount, projecting already to about 140 games lost from starter play out of the 380, which is ultimately bottom tier in the league. Again, 95 player games missed already, estimate of about 20, almost 20 different players missing time here and there. Again, but projected AGL for us this year is about 140. The NFL average through a year is about 82 to 90. So only one player, right, can be on the IR, or only 10 players in a given year can go on the IR, meaning the rest are like these week-to-week injuries, and those don't necessarily count with this. But that being said, it can't just be like bad luck. There has to be not just a string of bad luck, but there's got to be some facts behind this. And the fact number 3 is that older injury-prone players make up a disproportionate share of Bills injuries. We know this personally. Again, a 28% of the Bills players that have been injured this year are 28 or older. The NFL average is 22%, and so we're about 6% higher than the average in the NFL year over year. But this means, again, 6% higher. But again, when we look at Curtis Samuel, when you look at Joey Bosa, when you look at Matt Milano, when you look at Trey White, when you look at a bunch of our older guys, you'll see that they are players who are making up a disproportionate amount of games missed. Again, when a roster leans older, and we had to do that because of the way that, frankly, we've missed on some of these draft picks because of, like the Kyer Elams of the world and some of these second and third rounders that really just haven't supplanted or been these first rounders. Now, of course, you can say, well, we've got Benford and we've got some of these other late round guys that have been great. But in all of it, we've had a lot of players who are older taking a lot of snaps. And again, that is really leading to atrophy and attrition on our roster's health. But fact number 4 is the Bills defensive backs have been injured 2.5 times more than the league average since 2022. Again, there's a couple potential reasons for this. Maybe it's the scheme. Maybe it's the reason. Maybe it's the way that we play, the blend of zone, heavy zone and man coverage. The average league injury share the league share for defensive back injuries is 14%, and the Bills are about 35% of the Bills' total injuries since 2022. Now, this does take into account Damar Hamlin getting hurt, and there's some other players on here like the Achilles or the ACL injuries that we've had in the recent years that do take into this account. But still, again, with the turf on Highmark, the current as it sits Highmark, not the new one, which is going to be grass. I think that plus the cold weather conditions have not fared well for our players. And of course, you can say, well, Colin, it hasn't been cold yet. Well, we still have played a handful of games on the turf field. Again, in Buffalo's DBs, injury spikes become, I think, fully explainable when you see the type of scheme that they're playing in the back end. You look at the fact that we've been playing on turf. We've got to get rid of that. That is causing more injuries. What do they call MetLife? I don't even know what the name down there in New Jersey, but Death Life or something like that. It's not random. There is issues, which is, I think, one of the reasons why we're moving to that heated field in the new Highmark Stadium. But the fifth fact is this. Injuries have climbed every year since 2022, all the way up to 2025, except for 2024, which was a better year, so to speak. Of course, it was the year Josh Allen won the MVP. But in 2022, we had 95 total games, adjusted games lost. In 2023, with Milano, Trey White, and Hamlin, and some of these other injuries, 110 adjusted games lost. Again, throughout the year, then 90 adjusted games lost in 2024. We had a little stabilization there, but then also in 2025, there was 100, or we're projecting again right now at 140 total adjusted games lost. Again, 3-year trend, not a one-off spike. This year we're sitting at about what we had last year as far as total injuries. But again, the accumulation of these older players, the turf, some of the soft tissue injuries, this changing of the strength and conditioning coach, the aging roster. Again, it's all coming together and cooking together and putting the Bills in kind of this perfect storm. There's a lot to be said on this, and I'm just trying to pull the data. I pulled a lot of this from different sites on injuries and whatnot, and I'm just trying to make sense of it. And if you're still watching this video, my question for you is, what do you think about the current Bills situation with injuries? I'm not sitting here trying to rant. I'm not sitting here trying to be mad or upset. I'm trying to make sense of it. I want to understand what the issues are so that we can move forward without the issues. Now, I believe we're going to go and beat the Buccaneers this upcoming week, but regardless of the outcome of this week, of this year, there are some things that need to get changed in this, because what's currently happening, the attrition that we're experiencing month over month, season over season right now, is not sustainable for a championship level team, or a team that desires to be a championship level team, because obviously coming off the Dolphins loss, it's just pain. It hurts. They weren't who we wanted them to be. And so again, down in the comments, my question for you is, what are maybe some of the key indicators or facts or things that your mind are drawn to when it comes to injuries? I'm trying to compile a bunch of data, and I think I'm going to do a longer form video, just bring in analytics down and to bear on it and try to understand it. But one thing I do think is really important to acknowledge, and I use this phrase already, like bad luck. I don't necessarily think that bad luck, or those phrases of like injury-prone players, are necessarily good or bad. Or I think sometimes they're tossed around pejoratively and potentially unhelpfully. But I, as just maybe a critic, I don't yet want to call myself an analyst. I don't think that that's true. I'm still just trying to take raw data and understand it. But I'm looking at this whole situation, and again, I'm just trying to understand why the Bills are so hurt. It doesn't quite make sense to me, but you know what? You can call it a bug. You can call it a curse. You can call it whatever you want. Bad roster construction, whatever. I don't care what you want to call it. But I want to understand. I want to get to the bottom of it so that we can have better conversations about it. But again, in all of that, my name is Colin. This is Crack the Table. We're all Bills, no breaks, breaking down Buffalo Bills content every single day. There was some other stuff that I wanted to talk about today, but we didn't get to it. We'll get to it tomorrow. All that being said, peace out. Go Bills.